Well, this week, Fanning has actually really showed exactly how powerful he actually is. And Dr. Lear has actually figured it out. It's going down. And I'm like, come on through, Cookie. I'm going up on my soapbox. That's basically it. Let's talk about drag and all its forms. What, Cookie? Hey guys, thanks so much for clicking on the video. This is my review for The Passage. This is season 1, episode 4. As I said before, Dr. Lear has actually figured out pretty much what Fanning is doing and seeing how powerful Fanning is and how much power Fanning has over these people. So it's starting to get real deep here. So let's just go right in here. Brad has actually convinced them to allow for Amy to go outside. She's only 10. So he's like, this whole sitting in the room thing, this ain't working. So they convinced him to let him go outside. And then they end up building this tree house for her. She convinced the one female soldier to let her use her binoculars. And this way they were able to see over the perimeter and see what was out there and try to get a feel for what it is that they're going to do as far as escape. Of course, Amy keeps communicating back and forth with Anthony. Anthony is speaking more with Dr. Lear. Dr. Lear has actually taken a liking to Anthony, the same as he does with Amy. And again, it's easier, I think, because 1, Amy is a foster child. 2, Anthony is not a hardened criminal, as we found out later. This is the week, like last week we got Shauna Babcock's background story. This week we actually got Anthony's background story. And I just kept on, as soon as they started it up, you know, we go into this whole thing. And like I said, Anthony was telling Dr. Lear everything, but Dr. Lear was holding some information about Fanning back from Anthony. But Fanning is having a harder time cracking Anthony. Anthony is strong. He's strong. He is. He really is. He's strong. And 1, he doesn't have the mind, and you're going to understand as I go forward, he doesn't have the mind of a hardened murderer or a criminal. He doesn't have that mindset. So it's harder to crack him. He has a lot of, and you can see, it's good versus evil. Okay, y'all know I goes in when it comes down to good versus evil, and that's just the way I live. That's the way I believe in everything, my spirituality and everything. I believe in the power of good and the power of evil. I believe on this planet there is 50% of each, and it's a constant daily struggle on this planet at all times, 24 hours a day. It never stops. There is a battle of good and evil that goes on. It goes on all around you. It goes on the inside of you. It's all about your character and who you are and how you lean. And I am way off topic, but that's okay because it all makes sense. And I'm going to get down off my soapbox now. And we're back. This is what's going on with Anthony. There's a lot of good in Anthony, and he hasn't been hardened, and he's not, even though he was on death row, he hasn't given up on life. He don't want to die. Some of these other people were so fucked up till they would prefer death any goddamn way. So anyway, so this is what's going on. So Fanning is having to do some different things with Anthony than he's done with everybody else. which is in turn exposing himself because Dr. Lear is looking at all of these analytics down in this basement. And he's seeing that why is Fanning's brain stuff on red and everybody else's is on blue? And it's all going at the same time. Time when everybody's supposed to be asleep. The whole dream thing. That Dr. Lear is smart. Anyway, and then that's another thing that he actually said this episode. He said, somebody asked him, who is Fanning? And he said, he is the smartest man I've ever known. He's also the most manipulative man that I've ever known. I said, I'm all in. Let's go. Anyway, so let's go back to 2017 and talk about Anthony's story. Anthony meets this woman. That's what we'll call her. This woman. He's like a brand new real estate agent. Got his first house he's trying to flip. He meets this other real estate agent. Her name is Rachel. First day she met him, honey, she sees him. Y'all seen Anthony, baby. Body like, pow. Okay? And she seen his little black ball hit itself, and she was like, get me some of that, honey. So she did her thing, honey, and next thing you know, they're dating, honey. It's like 3 months later. It's on and popping. Got everything together, and then they end up getting a place together. Gets this house, and she's talking about their future together, and this, that, and the other. And you're kind of seeing she's real off and on. Like she's real, like she's cool one minute, then she's really, on some shit. And it comes out really like when she don't get her way and stuff, but just a little manic. And the first time it happened, it was this whole thing with this house. She agreed to get this house, and he was like, well, wait a minute, hold on. And I already signed the papers, and this, that, and the other, and all that. And she was like on a manic thing. I was like, it's crazy. So that's what we see about her. She ain't all wrapped too tight, okay? But again, he's all dealing with her. Then she shows up at the place, and somebody done whooped her ass. Face just is bashed in, and she's like, I just need a drink. And she's drinking, and she's taking these pills, and then she tells him, now remember, they've been dealing with each other for, at this point, it's got to be like 5 months. So I'm actually married. I said, this whore, I'm actually married. And it's that and the other ex-husband, he did it, ex-husband, the husband. He did it, he bashed her. So Anthony was saying, he was like feeling some kind of way. And then she's like, well, you forgive me, this, that, and the other. He's like, I got to think about these things. I don't know about all this. He's whooping your ass, and we got all this going on. So they laying in the bed. He goes to sleep. He wakes up. This damn fool that got in the pool and drowned herself. Mental illness is real. Okay? When somebody shows you, believe them. But she killed herself. So what we found out is that all this time, Anthony has been grieving the death of this whore, this lying whore, and feeling like there's something more he could have done to save her. So he's been dealing with that and fighting with that. Okay? So like I said, Anthony is nowhere near a hardened criminal. He did not murder anyone. He had no business actually being on death row. He ended up on death row because the husband was rich. Anthony was black. Rachel was white. You know the rest. End up on death row. Fuck with that whore. Anyway, a mess. So, all right. So in the process, let's go back outside. And all of this is going on with Anthony, okay? In the process of all of this, he's still talking back and forth. And he's starting to get sick. He's starting to, Fanning's really working on him. He's starting to get sick. Teeth start falling out. I said, oh shit. When they get to that thing when that teeth start falling out, that's when we get to the end, because them fangs is about to push through. That's what's really what it's given. So but he's his goodness, his humanity is not cracking that easy, okay? So now keep in mind there is an antivirus that they actually have now too. So they were down there and something happened and he broke into it, and Fanning was actually working on him. And things were moving real fast. Fanning's working on him. He breaks into this real bad fever. And they got to get him. And they get him and they take him over to this one building. And they're working on him. And in the meantime, in between time, there's this one worker in the basement. And he's a good friend of Richard's. And he told Richard the stuff about Babcock. He had told him, he said, yeah, I know she's playing you. She's playing you, and this, that, thing, and the other. And he's telling him about the guy that's in his cage that he's watching. And he's like, you ain't got to listen to him. He's like, yeah, just like you don't listen to Babcock. This, that, thing, and the other. And he's telling him all this. Well, this guy ends up, they have this thing. Amy's standing on a treehouse, and she's looking. And we found out Amy was actually scared of heights, too. But we worked with that and was working through it. Baby. Hey, up there, he got her looking through the binoculars. And she's telling him what she sees. And he's like, I see a guy on top of a roof over there, and he has a gun. And you start hearing pew, pew, sniping. It was the guy from the basement. He done rolled on that baby. He had got up there. He's sniping. He done told Richards he wanted him a helicopter. He trying to get up out of there. This shit's all fucked up and shit's getting ready to go real, real bad. He ready to expose the whole operation. He wants a helicopter so he can go. He's ready to leave. So they get down. Amy and Brad get down out of the treehouse naturally, and they're trying to make it back to the grounds and get off of the grounds because he's doing all this shooting. So they're across, there's like a little piece of a field there, and they got to get across it, and it's kind of like a wide open space. So Brad is listening to Richards because they got eyesight of each other, and he's telling him, bring her on in, and he's trying to cover for him real quick. So Brad tells this, and I'm living right now. Brad tells Amy, stay behind me. Just no matter what, just stay behind me, because she kept saying, we're not going to make it. So just stay behind me. Okay, so Amy started feeling a little differences about what's going on with her. Okay, she's been questioning what's the drug that they gave her and all this and what's going to happen to her. Baby, when they got to running, he's like, stay behind me. They start running. They running, baby. The next thing you that motherfucking Amy, she's scared, so she's running. Baby, she done ran, and she is outrunning the shit out of Brad. That little girl was flying across there like the bionic woman. I said, baby, all she needs is a chick, 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 chick. She was getting it. He's like, Amy. I said, child, don't worry about her. Her ass is gone. She was flying, baby. She got over there. I said, ain't nobody see that, I guess. Brad seen it. He was like, I said, yeah, you got fire starter on your hands. Just wait. Just wait when it's time to break out and see what she did. But I laughed. I said, okay, cool. So that happened. They get them to safety. Brad says, okay, because, he's, when they were in the service, he was actually one of those negotiators that could actually talk down snipers and bomb threat folk and all of that. He's a good negotiator. So he says, let me help you. Let me get him down. So they working this out. He sends him up there. Brad's talking to the dude. He's like, I've been down there. I seen what you talking about. I know what you're talking about. This, that, and the other. And on and on and on. And the guy starts, Brad talks him down. And Brad, he's like, I got 2 valves of his blood. I'm getting ready to get up out of here, and I'm going to blow the roof off of this whole thing. This, that, and the other. He's like, well, let me help you because, you can't do it by yourself. the two of us together. He's like, two of us ain't enough to do it, this, that, and the other. He's like, whole time Richards is actually listening on his walkie-talkie. He overhears the conversation. He also stated that Fanning told him, we're getting ready to break. He says something about, I know I seen the people downstairs and they're like lab rats. And he says, how do you know they're the lab rats? How do you know we're not the lab rats? That's what he actually said to Richards earlier. And he told him, and he was like, they're planning. They said, he said, Fanning told him he needs one more person. And then, well, Fanning didn't tell him. Fanning told the guy, told all of them. And the guy who he was watching actually liked him. He liked him. And he said, he told him, he said, I love you. He said, he told me he loves me. And he gave the whole plan to him, baby. He told him, yeah, he actually does like him. And he told him, he was like, they need one more person and then it's going to be a mutiny. And he was like, I'm going to get the fuck out of here and then I'm going to blow the lid off this shit. So as that goes on, next thing you know, Brad is staying talking to him and then boom, blows his head off. That damn Richards comes up there and blows his head off. And Brad's like, wait a minute. He's like, when were you downstairs? This, that, and the other. He said, I just told him that. He said, yeah, right. Really? He said, no, he said, I just lied. I just told him that. I was like, oh, God. Okay, so out in the real world, we got the reporter, we got the ex-wife, and we got our girl. So the reporter said everything checked out. She's getting ready to run it. She told some people, and she said, it gets a little scary. Sometimes you might not get, if you need some security, let me know. And our girl was like, she don't need no security. She got me. She's like, well, y'all just let me know. They staying in a little hotel. And they sitting there, and they're sitting on the bed, and then they see on the news the reporter killed in some mysterious car accident the day before the shit was supposed to run. I said, she told her, she said, we got to move. We got to go now. She said, well, wait, she said, now. We got to go now. Bitch, we on the ride. And I said, okay. So in the midst of all that going on, they go, Amy's back in the house. And now Amy's hallucinations have started. Oh, Shauna comes to her. Our Amy, honey. Amy's smart. Amy was telling her, I don't know about you. I don't know that I want to deal with you. And as a matter of fact, where are you right now? Because you're not really here. So where are you at right now? So, smart girl, so where are you? Well, I'm downstairs. I'm locked up. She says, really? She said, now show me your real self. She said, okay, it's kind of scary. So I'm going to show you, but then I'm going to switch right back. Baby, she showed her, honey, with the fangs and the veins, honey. And Amy looked at her and said, a mess, honey. I ain't nothing like you. She said, oh, but you are. It's just that you just haven't given into it yet. This, that, and the other. And she's telling her, don't listen to nobody. And we're your family. And this, that, and the other. All that bullshit. And Amy was like, she said, you know your mother. She said, you know who I am. She said, yeah, you're Shauna Babcock. She said, y'all connected. She said, and I know your mother was, your mother OD'd and this, that, and the other. She looked at her. She said, She said, yeah. We be real cool. She said, we ain't gonna be cool. I don't want nothing to do with you. You can get on out of here. You can get on out of here. She said, you ain't got nobody. She said, oh, I do. I have the agent. She said, no. He's gonna have a hard time. Trust me. She said, and that was it. That was the end of her visit, baby, because she was like, oh, really now, bitch? Okay, I want you out of here. Get on out of here. So she had to go. So, last thing. Fanny, okay, so, in the midst of everything, the sniper shoots on top of the one building and knocks all the power out. This is where they're actually trying to stabilize Anthony, because he came out with this fever, and he's burning up. Like, burning up. His blood pressure was so high. They were packing him with ice because the power had went out, and they're trying to get this power on. They're losing him. He's just about to die or whatever. So they get him, and they're like, okay, let's get the once they did all that, they finally get the power back on once the snipers killed and all that. And they're trying to get the his blood pressure down and all that. And she said, come on, let's give him the antivirus. And that's what they were saying. Dr. Lear said, it's Fanning. Fanning is doing this to him. And whatever. She's like, what? The little black chick. She's like, what? Whatever. So she's so stupid. Like, she'll understand that. And she also found out during this episode that Richards is lying to her about different things and hiding things from her about why he stopped that execution of Shauna. Anyway, so they're trying to stabilize him, and at that time, that's when we see Fanning and Anthony actually going the good versus evil. And that's when we go into the whole thing. We find out the whole thing about how he was actually framed and how he's been suffering and everything and all of that. And at that point, Fanning had told him, you have 8 seconds. He said, what's happening to me? He said, you're dying. You have 8 seconds to decide what you want to do. He says, I don't want to die. He said, well, then if you choose me, then you won't die. This, that thing, and the other, and on and on and on. Actually, you know, he didn't convince him because I remember I told you Anthony doesn't have a hardened heart. He never wanted to die because he shouldn't, because he never really actually did anything. And he was also telling him about the system and how everything was so wrong and all. And that's how he convinced him to switch him over. And he told him, just give in to it. And I said, oh, baby, he didn't bid him, honey. He bid him and changed him. And the next thing you know, Anthony pops back up, honey. His blood pressure gave, honey, and he leaped up, baby, and the fangs came out, honey, and his eyes was changed, and he got to chewing on a little Chinese doctor, honey, and he knocked Dr. Lear down, because Dr. Lear was like, Anthony, and he went to grab, and when he looked up and he see he had changed, and Anthony just kind of like mugged him and made him fall back. And he was too busy trying to chew up on this little Chinese doctor. I guess he wanted egg foo young. I said, oh, all right, honey. He knocked Dr. Lear down, but in the midst of that, you know, his mouth was filled with blood, his own blood. It was on Dr. Lear's face. And when they got behind the glass, old girl gonna look at Dr. Lear and say, Jonas, your mask. Whose blood is that? I saw a bitch. So, Dr. Lear got some of Anthony's blood on him. So, we got to see how that's going to work out. But that's where it basically ended out at. So good. So good. But anyway, all right, y'all. So, I will catch up with y'all next week. This really is good. I'm telling you, the show's good. I'll catch up with y'all next week. Can't wait to see what's going to go on with Jonas, honey. Whew. Later.